organizations in Kenya to discuss and raise awareness on how important the donkey is, especially to the rural poor.
All right, of course, and Florence will be coming to the contributions of the donkey a bit later, but paint for us a picture of some of the donkey's contributions, especially in terms of livelihoods, and this is for the poor, the elderly, the PWDs. What exactly are the donkey's contributions to the livelihoods of these kinds of persons?
Some of the common ways of using the donkeys, especially arid areas, is they facilitate fetching of water. The distances that donkeys walk are too high. For example, if you can give an example of Kitui, during the dry spell, we normally have between 8 and 10 kilometers to cover in a day. So they facilitate fetching of water from the water source to the household. It is not only water for domestic use, they also fetch water for other livestock. Other ways on how the donkey is used is to fetch farm produce from the farm to the home and from home to the market. And also the same from the market, in case there is not enough at the household level, they are used to carry products from the markets to households. In other areas, they are used to transport things like pasture for livestock. Some areas, they use them even to transport households, especially during migration time.
Okay.
Especially areas of northeastern like Turkana and elsewhere. And they also play a very important role of moving or transporting the sick, people with disability, children, in times of crisis, that majority of us don't appreciate that role that they play.
All right, and you've also said that, yes, they play a big role in transporting persons with disability. And we know that persons with disability tend to be the overlooked persons in whatever kind of circumstance. But just aside from transporting PWDs, is there any other contribution of the donkey, especially when it comes to persons with disability, just minus transporting?
One of the things that are easy to do with people with disability is that if you have a donkey at household level, it can do so many other things.
Okay.
Transport goods to the market that you cannot do because you have a disability. At times they don't have a means of transport because donkeys are in the interior areas of the country, so they carry them either by cart, and there are sometimes when they have to take on their back to be moved from one point to the other, and other sources of income where if you have it, you can give it to somebody who is able, especially the youth. They work with it and they bring the donkey back in the evening plus some money. That is a source of income for the people with disability.
All right, so Florence, now let's come to the economic impact of this very useful animal, just from the way you've explained it as we are beginning. But coming to matters to do with the production chain of several industries, make us understand what exactly is the critical link to the production chain of several industries in the country? How are the donkeys a critical link, especially when you look at industries such as agriculture industry, construction industry, and even the mining industry? How are they a critical link?
The donkeys play critical link because they are facilitative in nature.
Okay.
Especially, let me pick like agriculture. They are used for farming. They transport the produce to the markets and from the markets back to households. For construction, they support provision of water at different levels, and of construction materials. And in all this, the donkeys, if you calculate on an average, like if we did a research in partnership with Cairo, on an average in a month, if you calculate the work done by a donkey, whichever work it does, you can take home 11,400.
Okay.
Given that, with reference to 2017, the population of donkey was around 1.8. And taking that 75% of that population to be a working animal, you will end up with around 15 billion in a year. A contribution by the donkeys across all sectors into the economy that is not recognized and appreciated in our general talks. as donkey as a working animal.
All right, Florence, you've extensively explained, especially on the matters on the issue of agriculture as well as construction. But when it comes to mining, how critical are they as a link?
Mining, they are also possibly used for transport of minerals from one point to the other,
All
because
right.
mostly in mining areas the terrain is also very bad. So they move the mining products from one point to the other. And again, they are also used to move some of the heavy materials within mining areas, which also gives an opportunity for the donkeys to contribute to the economy, together with other issues like transportation of food to mining areas and also clean water for use by the workers within the mining areas.
All right, so let's come to issues to do with the International Workers' Day, which is coming up on a Friday. That is the 1st of May, happens every other 1st of May of each year. And the top of the list when it comes to International Workers' Day is always about salary increment. It always tops the list. But if the welfare of donkeys is observed, then how does families and households who depend on these animals have increased income, increased salary, or even increased monies?
Okay. Looking at the International Day,
Yes.
we look at the government to give us salary increment, and we anxiously wait for that. The same way that people look at salary increment is the same way that in a related way how a donkey contributes to income or increase in income.
Okay.
From a welfare perspective, we say if a healthy donkey which is taken care of by the based on uh, 5 animal freedoms, that is, its anger and thirst is taken care of, all discomfort environments are managed. It has no pain, injury, or disease. It expresses normal behavior, and it has no fear or distress. You get better service from that particular animal. That means you do more work with a healthy animal than an unhealthy animal. Like if you have a lame animal or a lame donkey, moving of that donkey is an issue, so it will do less. If you have an healthy donkey, does more work, hence you get more income from the work that is given by the donkey. And in that connection, we as animal welfare organizations, about 5 of them, we look at how we emphasize our donkey owners and users to take care of the donkey so that they can maximize in it by giving it better feeding and watering processes, ensuring that it is comfortable and it's well managed generally.
All right, so basically, Florence, what you're saying that even as you talk about the issue of salary increment or the fact that, yes, it always tops the list on every International Workers' Day, that when it comes to the donkeys, that if they're treated nicely, accorded all the respect and value, that they can also yield produce for their owners and their users.
Yes, and that means then we would humbly ask Kotu through a trolley to also begin celebrating the donkey in International Labor Day because of the work that the donkey does as a worker.
Okay.
We've been saying it is invisible work. We would wish to see donkey as a visible worker. And then we also say that the value of the donkey needs to be appreciated because the contribution of 15 billion in a year, even when you compare such with other companies like Baburi, for example, I was looking at EPZ as a population, employee population about 56. We have 1.8 donkeys that are working with women, youth, and children. So it is the high time we begin to think about the donkey and also appreciate it and celebrate the donkey for its contribution to the society, and also check on the challenges that are facing the donkey. Ensure that donkey owners and users make the best out of donkeys and take care of the donkeys.
All right, well said, Florence, and we'll be coming to the challenges also a bit later. But let's come to the issue of employment. We know that employment is an issue that we are constantly grappling with here as a country, especially amongst the young populations, or if you may, the young adults. does donkey or does a donkey create employment? And if it does, which kind of employments can this animal create, especially for the young population?
Over 70% of the donkeys
Okay.
are used for work, and especially for the youth. In most of the market, peri-urban centers,
Yeah.
you will see that youth using the donkeys to transport or supply water, movement of goods from one point to the other. In areas like if you go to Maya, you will see donkeys all over transporting rice and related products from the factory to the household to the farms. We have other areas where, like areas of Kajiado, where in the market area, donkeys are also being used by youth to do many other transportation issues. When we come to farming, we also, like in Kitui, we farm with our donkeys. We connect them with the bulls. Sometimes we use them individually to do some bit of planting or plowing. And that means that the donkey contributes a lot in terms of employing. That is why I was saying if you calculate the contribution, which is normally not feasible, you will take home like 11,000 in a month from a single donkey. So youths are using the donkeys, women are using the donkeys, especially in rural areas, which is not valued work. A donkey takes a pack of 4 20-liter gel cans for water, and you walk for 10 kilometers or 8 or 7 in a day. If you don't have that donkey, that work has to be done because water has to be available for domestic use, for sometimes for livestock. And if it is the donkey is not there, like we've seen some cases when the donkeys were stolen and slaughtered,
Yeah.
you have the woman or the children have to do it. So they have to carry that water. So you do 4 trips to the water point instead of one. So this is why we are saying that we need to value the dungeon, because if I'm doing 4 trips, it means that in a day I'll do nothing else other than going and back. And I might not be able to make the 4 trips. But with a donkey, I'll do 1 trip, go to the river, come back home, and I have a lot of other time to do many other things. I can take care of the family, I do farming, I can have time for merry-go-round and many other things. So those are things that we are saying. It saves time, one. It helps us move a bit of huge load than we can do as human at a time. And then it saves a lot of hassle, pain, because if I have to do 4 trips to a river, I'm saved 3 trips. I'll do one and then I'm safe. So that means that the donkey still contributes to the economy in a substantial way.
Well, all right. And we had talked about the issue of salary increment, which always tops the list when it comes to International Workers' Day. Another issue that also tops the list when it comes to this specific day is the issue of safety of workers, where employers always have to ensure, or they should ensure, that their employees work in a conducive environment. But Florence, when it comes to the donkeys, what can be done to ensure that these animals can also be able to work in a safe environment, conducive environment, and also can be treated in a humane way?
What we need to do, and also what we've been advocating for, is that we need to, the same way I need to be healthy to deliver in my work, it is the same way that the animals need to be taken care of. They
Okay.
need to be watered, they need to be attended to when they are sick. They need to be sheltered in an environment so that they are not exposed to extreme climate. Where possible, they are well taken care of. We also need to make sure that vet services are available so that in case it is unwell, there's a professional who can attend to the animal just like other livestock. There's also always an issue on workload, because donkeys are seen to have a lot of energy that not another animal can do. We must learn that the same way a human being works for 8 hours,
Okay.
the donkey needs to take a minimum load that it can manage in a day, and it is well taken care of. So a healthy donkey will give you a better service, and we need to make sure that we check on things that are threatening, like educating communities, users, and owners on how best they should take care of the donkey to make sure that it doesn't have things like wounds. If it has, they are cleaned, it is fed well, it is given adequate load that it can take, and other related programs.
All right, so Florence, even as we still stick with the issue of ensuring that the donkeys have conducive working environment, because for us as human beings, we constantly take care of ourselves. And even as we talk about the International Workers' Day, it always tops the list. And employees will always be quick to just make us understand that employers need to treat them well. They need to ensure their health is okay. They need to ensure that their working environment is safe. And yes, you've talked about the conducive environment for a donkey, but just what exactly makes us overlook the aspect that the donkey needs to be treated safely, it needs to work in a proper environment? Is it because it's an animal? What makes us overlook that fact?
I think there has been a culture, like I began saying, that the donkey is termed as a beast of burden. As in, it can take anything. And
Okay.
that takes a bit of a level of ignorance, because like any other animal, it will get tired, it will get sick, and it needs attention. So it's about ignorance, it's about an awareness that it needs to be taken care of. And I want to emphasize that donkeys, when they are stressed, they can look at you and they can cry, things that people don't know. A donkey which is well taken care of, when you call it, it looks at you and it draws some attention to hear what you want to say. So the same way, some of the things that we do them in a way that it does not um, give the donkey the dignity that it requires. We have also an experience on the donkey slaughter, which we had 4 slaughterhouses which were licensed here in Kenya,
Yeah.
and they were slaughtering donkeys. One of our findings was that they were using inhumane way. You take a blunt object and beat a donkey in the presence of another live donkey, which, according to animal welfare, that is an inhumane way of killing an animal. So those are things that we say it is out of ignorance, it is out of culture, that we were told from the beginning that a donkey is a beast of burden, and that culture has to change. And that is why we are challenging we have been out there advocating for closure of the donkeys slaughterhouses, so that the donkeys can be, because their breeding process is not easy. Actually, they say it is not viable. It has to be natural. You cannot do it artificially. That we need to ensure that donkey slaughter process does not continue, because if it continues with the rate that we've known, that Carol tells us by 2023, if we were to continue, we would have non-donkeys in Kenya. And then you look at the population
Yeah.
that is using the 1.8 million donkeys. Where would they be? The burden goes back to women, children, and to some extent to men and youth, who are now using the donkeys to earn some income.
All right, so you really talked about the issue of donkey slaughter, which also is one of the challenges that the donkey faces. But break down for us some of the other challenges that this animal faces, minus just the donkey slaughter.
Another challenge is mistreatment. When it is sick, it is not attended to. People continue using it.
Yeah.
Another challenge is that feeding programs or feeding habits of us, we work with the donkeys the whole day and we just let it go to find pasture for itself, which strains it. The other challenge is that we have cases of theft where you leave your donkey and it is stolen and
Okay.
you never find it. So, and the challenge on breeding, where we are saying it is not very easy to breed a donkey because it does it naturally. So if we don't do that, it means that if we don't continue advocating for breeding programs, we have a challenge where we might have an extinction of the donkeys in the near future.
All right, so remember we are talking about the unrecognized worker. In this instance, it is the donkey. We are trying to better understand how we can value and treat these animals, and Florence Ndetti is helping us understand more about that. Now, coming back to you, Florence, you have mentioned the issue of breeding program, lack of breeding program for the donkey, which is also one of the challenges. But make us understand, when you talk about the lack of breeding program, what exactly do you mean, or what exactly does this entail?
According to the experts,
Okay.
you see, like other livestock, you can do artificial insemination
All right.
for other, like cattle. But for donkey, we are told that it is almost impossible. It has been tried, it has never worked. So for a donkey, they need to be in a space, in a friendly environment where they can interact with each other and reproduce. And that is why, according to the professionals, most donkeys would conceive at around during rain seasons because they are not working too much, especially in areas where they are used to fetch water and they are relaxed. Donkeys, again, we are told they cannot conceive when they are stressed. And by the way, they get stressed like human beings because of maybe they are sick, they are being overworked, and in that environment they cannot. So what we are saying is, as a country within Kenya, we don't have a breeding program where we say there's a place where donkeys are kept for breeding. It is natural, although now people have come up and they would want to test it. They should be somewhere in an environment which is friendly, they're being fed, they mingle with each other, and they reproduce. So in Kenya, we don't have such a breeding program.
Okay.
And now people are coming to understand it is an opportunity that they need to explore and see if they can have it to make sure that the numbers keep increasing in addition to the natural way of reproduction.
All right, and Florence, you really explained to us so much about the economic impact of this animal, its usefulness, and you have really better understood how important the donkey is, especially in terms of economic impact, in terms of helping the elderly, the PWDs. But let's still stick on the challenges. This issue of the challenge of extinction, make us understand, how is this an issue, and to what extent?
This is an issue because citing back to the population of 1.8 by 2017 census,
All right.
or by last 2017, we did a study with Cairo, and they looked at the number of donkeys that were being slaughtered in the four slaughterhouses in Kenya, and there was an average uptake of 1,000 donkeys in a day. So, based on that analysis, they also looked at the analysis on how the natural reproduction process was. And they realized the slaughterhouses were taking 5 donkeys in a day, and one was born in that day. So based on that calculation, they were able to affirm that by 2023, we
Okay.
would have no more donkeys because of the donkey slaughter. And this is the interest is actually on the skin as a priority and some level for the meats, which are being exported to China. We have been asking ourselves that if the process of slaughter continues as it was, this would resort to slaughter of all the donkeys and we'll have no more. We'll just talk like we used to have donkeys. Then the question is, the rural poor who use the donkeys, who takes the burden? Like I said before, it is the women at first, children, and some bit of youth. And a challenge for the youth because we have an experience where some of the youth who lost their donkeys through theft during the peak moments of donkey slaughter, they turned to drugs because their only livelihood was dependent on the donkey, and the donkey was no more. So challenge of extinction is threatened by the slaughter of donkeys
Okay.
for export.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, so coming now to another issue, the Kenya's National Donkey Welfare Day is normally celebrated on the 17th of May every year. So even as we talk about the International Workers' Day, which will be coming on this Friday, the Kenya National Donkey Welfare Day comes on 17th May of every year in about 5 counties in this country, the counties of Kisumu, Nyandarua, Kajiado, Nakuru, and even your own county, Kitui. But from where you sit, do you feel like this National Donkey Day has been given enough media presence in terms of coverage, at least for people, for owners, for users to know how best they can value and treat this useful animal?
I must say yes and no, because
Okay.
because we always have media, but you realize for media they do short clips and other issues come up, and that's an issue.
Okay.
And we are saying that for media to help us in these advocacy levels, they need to help us, or we need to support the media to generate consistent information. That is why in education you go to school for years to be able to conceptualize issues.
Yeah.
We need consistent awareness and media engagement to be able to articulate the importance of the donkey to our people, and also seek to influence their attitude and behavior, and on how they handle the donkey, because that makes sure that even the donkey is appreciated, and during the International Labor Day, because of Workers' Day, so that because its contribution is huge, that most people don't know. And in another way that the media can help us, we also have these short messages that you keep, or debates that you have. If we have more of those debates and emphasize on the importance of the donkey as a livestock and its contribution to the economy, most people will begin to appreciate the donkey and never ever label it as a beast of burden.
All right, so what you're saying is that the media can do more. But coming now to another issue, earlier this year, at around February there, the CS Agriculture, Peter Munya, had directed that all donkey slaughterhouses needed to be closed, which is a good move, at least in helping to protect this animal. But do you feel like the government, through this ministry, is doing enough to help protect this animal, or they could do something more? And if they could do something more, what more can they do?
I must say that we appreciate the pronouncement by the CS Munya
Okay.
on the closure of slaughterhouse. A point, all the donkeys were fine. And even that move that actually came as a surprise community, getting to his office, telling him, here we come, here we cry to you, getting our donkeys are getting finished. But we know that after 2020, because they were
All right. We seem to be losing the audio of Florence Ndetti, but she's just explaining to us the usefulness and the value of this animal and how we can take care of the donkey, even as we look forward for the International Workers' Day, which will be happening on the 1st of May. Happens annually every year on the 1st of May, just to celebrate workers. And just like we've mentioned, among the issues that always top the list is the issue to do with salary increment, where employees would always want their salaries to be increased. There's also the issue of safety and health of workers. And just, Florence, like the way you're explaining to us that yes, it was a good move by the CS, and you are telling us, what more do you think this ministry can do?
Enforce the ban one, so that all the slaughters change business and do other businesses other than donkey slaughter.
Okay.
And we also want to see enforcement of CAP 360, which is not on animal cruelty, and also review of existing policies so that they can stand the precious animal as it is.
All right. Now, coming back to another issue which we had slightly touched on earlier, and this is in regards to the general public getting message on how they can treat and value donkeys. From where you see it, or just also using your docket, what more are you doing? Yes, you've mentioned that the media can do more, and they're doing good, but they can do more. But from where you sit, what more are you doing to ensure the general public is getting enough message, getting enough information on how they can value and treat this useful animal?
We are doing a lot through radio to raise awareness.
Okay.
We are working with the all stakeholders, especially government, to raise awareness on the role of the donkey in the society. We are group. We have about over 60 groups across Kitui that are discussing donkeys and livelihoods and trying to see if they can change their behavior, influence how they practice, how they handle the donkeys, and also make sure that the donkeys are sheltered, for example.
Okay.
Testing is well done. If they have wounds, they are managed so that they can experience the better environment.
All right. Okay, so yeah, of course, the donkeys faces many problems, and Florence is explaining to us also more of what they are doing from their docket to help the general public get message, get information on how they can treat this animal better, how they can value them. Just as we finish up with the discussion, Florence, if you can get me, many of the problems that the donkey face include matters to do with malnutrition, lameness, work-related injuries. So what can you attribute these problems to?
Brought up knowing
Okay, so that,
we know what we're supposed to do
all right.
and we don't do it. Plus poverty level where we are too poor to think of the donkey other things as a priority other than the welfare of the donkey.
Okay, so thank you very much, Florence Ndetti. We have been speaking with Madam Florence Ndetti, who, like I mentioned, couples up as does so many things, but among them is she is skilled in matters to do with human rights as well as animal welfare, which is what we were discussing this morning, how we can, as a society, treat this animal better. It is a useful animal. We are looking forward to the International Workers' Day. She has raised a number of issues that workers normally raise on this specific day, as well as the things that we can do to ensure that also donkeys can get the same kind of treatment just as we as humans.